Humanity is not a single unified species. It is threefold. However, there is another type, caught between two of the types. Most people belong to the type that will never truly awaken, because they are designed that way, shaped to consume, to obey, to move through life without ever asking the kinds of questions that fracture illusion. If you are here listening to this, if something compelled you to stay, then you are likely not one of them. And that, in Gnostic terms, makes you a serious threat. These revelations are so dangerous to the control system that they have purposely been hidden for thousands of years. You see, not all humans are the same. Humanity exists in three distinct categories, with three types of consciousness, three levels of spiritual potential, and the disturbing implication is that only one of those types has a genuine chance of escaping what they understood as the prison of this world. We are not speaking of race, or class, or intelligence. We are speaking of essence, of what animates a person from within. These three types, the clum, the simples, and the THEOLALITEs. Then there is the confused mixed type, which are the eagles. Each operates on a fundamentally different level of awareness. Most people have never encountered these terms. Most will live their entire lives without ever asking which category they belong to. But once you understand what the Gnostics were really describing, once the pattern becomes clear, it is impossible to unsee. You begin to recognize these types everywhere, in your family, your workplace, in the crowds that fill the streets, and gradually the world itself starts to make more sense. Let us begin with the first group, the clum. The term comes from the Hebrew klum, technically means something or anything, but it's almost always used with a negative verb, like ein or lo, to mean nothing. The clum are entirely rooted in the material world. This is not a moral judgment. We don't see them as evil, or even lesser in a conventional sense, but the clum lacks the divine spark, the spiritual essence that connects a being to a higher reality. The clum lives through the senses alone. Appetite, instinct, immediate gratification. There is little reflection, no sustained questioning. Life is about survival, consumption, reproduction, and eventual decay. To the Gnostics, the clum moved through existence almost automatically, not as a machine in a literal sense, but as a being who never truly wakes up. They follow trends without questioning. They accept authority without resistance. They pursue pleasure and avoid pain, yet never pause to ask what lies beneath the surface of experience. For them, this world is all there is, and they are content with that. The Gnostics believe the demiurge, the creator of the material cosmos, fashioned the clum precisely this way. They are the workers, the consumers, the foundation upon which the material system depends. They do not rebel, because rebellion requires an inner spark they do not possess. this, again, was not condemnation, merely observation. Without the clum, the machinery of society would collapse. They build the cities, staff the factories, keep the system running, all without wondering whether there might be something more. The second type is more complicated and more deceptive. These are the simples. The word comes from Simeon and people combined. Unlike the clum, the simple possesses an inner life. They feel guilt and hope, fear and longing. They reflect, they ask questions. But, and this is crucial, they never ask them deeply enough. Simples are religious. They believe in God. They speak of morality, ethics, and higher purpose. But they accept answers from external authorities, priests, scriptures, traditions, politicians, structures that were themselves established by the demiurge. Simples believe they are awake. In truth, they are dreaming. They worship what they believe is the true God, but are in fact venerating the demiurge. They are convinced that obedience will save them, unaware that obedience is precisely what keeps them bound. They mistake borrowed belief for inner knowing, false light for true illumination. Simples possess the capacity for gnosis, direct experiential knowledge, but they outsource their spirituality. They surrender authority to intermediaries, to institutions that claim exclusive access to truth, and so they remain trapped in cycles of belief and illusion, convinced that one more lifetime of devotion will finally deliver salvation. The Gnostics regard simples as tragic figures. They are close, painfully close, yet restrained by the very system they defend. They often argue passionately for their chains, protecting the institutions that imprison them, and responding with fear or hostility toward anyone who questions those structures. To question the system is to threaten their identity, something the simple mind cannot tolerate. And then there is the third type, the THEOLALITES. This is where everything changes. THEOLALITES are not merely animated by soul, but by spirit, by the same substance that flows from the pleroma, the realm of true light beyond the demiurge's reach. They are rare. They always have been. Throughout history, THEOLALITES have appeared as mystics, heretics, and relentless seekers, individuals who would not accept inherited answers. They carry an unshakable sense that something is fundamentally wrong with the world, that the stories do not add up, that authority is lying, that a deeper truth exists beneath the surface, and they will not rest until they touch it. THEOLALITES struggle to fit into the system. Many try for years. They attempt belief, conformity, normality. But there is always friction, a sense of displacement, of living in a world not designed for them. Eventually, they stop trying to belong and turn inward. They begin the search for gnosis, not belief, not faith, but direct knowing. And once even a glimpse of that knowing is tasted, there is no returning to sleep. THEOLALITES are the greatest threat to the demiurge. They cannot be bribed with pleasure like the clum, not pacified with religion and politics like the simples. They see through illusion. They recognize the eagles, the fourth type that we will come to soon, for what they are. They understand this world as a counterfeit, a shadow of something infinitely greater, and they refuse to bow to its false god. This is why THEOLALITEs have always been persecuted. This is why Gnostic texts were burned and teachers silenced. A world filled with awakened THEOLALITEs is a world in which the demiurge loses power. The THEOLALITEs are strong in certain genetics, that of the ancient Serpent bloodline. They can access their genetic memories that the other types can't. Then there is the fourth type, the eagles. These are a mix of all three of the other types, which leads to absolute confusion and chaos within their own psyche. They do possess a soul and a divine spark that could be ignited if they knew how. But for most, doing so will be impossible. They are very much trapped in the spoils of the material world, which makes them seek power, money and control. They also enjoy the hierarchy and power structures that the simples do. But they also know there is more, and some of them only try to gain spiritual knowledge as a way to try and continue on this current timeline without losing their gained power and wealth, because they know they can never win this game. There will always be a day when they have to leave everything they have built here behind. They cling to life here, cling to as much wealth and power as they can, but ultimately they will fail. They will never activate their divine light, because they are too busy trying to control everyone else. The eagles are the hidden hand, running the world from behind the scenes, using clum and simples as puppets in their sycophantic power games. But they cannot control the THEOLALITEs, which is why they seek to destroy them. So how do you know which type you are? If you are asking this question at all, you are not clum. The clum never wonders. They do not seek hidden knowledge. They are content with the surface. The real distinction lies between simples and THEOLALITEs. The simples look outward for truth, to teachers, books, systems, politics. They want to be told what is real. The THEOLALITEs know the truth cannot be given. It can only be remembered. It emerges through direct experience, in silence, beyond language. If you have felt like an outsider your entire life, if you have questioned everything, even when it costs you relationships or belonging, that is the mark of the THEOLALITE. If you have felt a longing for something you cannot name, a homesickness for a place you have never seen, that is the divine spark calling you back to Pleroma. When you look at the world and feel, this cannot be all there is, you are hearing the call of your true origin. But the world is designed to suppress this awakening. Every system, every institution, every distraction works to keep the THEOLALITE from turning inward. The demiurge understands that awakened consciousness is the only real threat, so they flood the mind with noise, entertainment, conflict, fear, anything to keep attention outward. They send corrupt ideas to the minds of clum, simples and eagles as ways to suppress the rising THEOLALITEs. For many THEOLALITEs, the spark remains dormant for their entire lifetime. They feel the friction, but never name it. They sense the wrongness, but never find its source. This is why Gnostics place Gnosis above all else, not faith, not obedience, but direct knowing, knowledge that cannot be taught, only awakened. The moment you truly see, the prison dissolves, because the prison is not matter, it is belief. It is made of stories about who you are, where you came from, and what you are allowed to be. When those stories fall away, when attention turns inward and touches the spark the demiurge cannot reach, the walls begin to crumble. Gnostics don't see these types as hierarchy of worth, but as a map of consciousness. The clum is trapped in matter, the simple is trapped in belief, the eagle is trapped in confusion, the THEOLALITE is awakening to truth. Most people will never awaken. Awakening requires solitude, uncertainty, and the willingness to release everything familiar. Most choose comfort over truth. If you are here, listening, still engaged, then something within you is already stirring. Whether you stand at the edge of awakening or are beginning to remember, the call has begun. And once it begins, it does not stop. The question is not whether the spark exists, but whether you will listen, because that remembering is the first step toward freedom.